Godfather, when it came out, everybody was talking Gordon Willis will be fired, he will never work in Hollywood because that was bad.
I'm wondering what you think of this quote here. I don't think about a shot, I feel a shot. I just do what I feel.
That's exactly what it is. You don't think about shot. You are there in a moment. It's like a famous photographer, André Cartier-Bresson, said something that he doesn't take picture takes him. There's that moment that you witness, that you point the camera, you get a moment, and that becomes forever. Never before, never later, but that particular moment is what this image is. So for cinematographers, you don't think about the shot. It's like, I use a lot of analogy, usually with cooking and music, because I like both. I think also I would use a quote by Miles Davis. He said something about the note that you don't play is equally important or more important than the one that you play. So I would apply the same logic to cinematography. It's not about that particular shot. That particular shot might be interesting, but if this particular shot as a part of the whole story or sequence or whatever works well and it feels right, then you're doing a good job. Then this is good art. Then you're creating something that is just not only image or particular shot, but it's emotional response. And again, everything comes down to your emotional response. You either have emotional response or you don't. As a cinematographer, somebody who is creating it, as well as people who are watching it, it's the same kind of, you're doing it for the audience. You want people to experience what you experienced as you are right there in the moment when camera is rolling and everything's happening and you feel great about it.
And as with Miles Davis, he had to reinvent himself many times. Do you tell that sometimes to your students, that your art will change, it will morph into different things?
It changes from moment to moment. It changes during the day. I show up on the set sometimes and I have an idea what I'm going to do. I have an idea. Because director and I talked about it. Director and I talked about what we're going to do, how we're going to do the scene. We all agree about it. And then all of a sudden you look at something and say, you know what, forget it, let's do this. Let's do this. You react in a moment. You have instinctive reaction to what's happening. Or you just simply say, forget about it, let's just do this. Let's just do this because I feel strongly that the way I was planning to light the scene might work better if I do it this way. So it's constantly changing. Our profession is constantly changing. That's another beautiful thing about cinematography, is because not every profession has gone through so much transformation as cinematography is, from early days of, hand cranking camera and then creating some most amazing, beautiful, like Technicolor, big, epic movies and using huge lights, big. We still have some of them here, and now coming that you can actually shoot a scene by, just using your phone, little light here, little light there. So the way I understand lighting, in its essence, is still the same. But practically how I'm doing it makes it much easier. Now I can put like one light here, one light there, looks great. Looks great. It's giving me something that I can work with. So it's constantly changing. Cameras are changing. I'm constantly relearning. When it comes down to lighting in particular, I'm constantly relearning my craft. And my art too, because as much as I have my own personal taste about what I think is right, what I think is not, cinematography or visuals are also part of the, our moment that we live in. So something is very fashionable now, might not be fashionable in 2-3 years, and we all know, like it used to be times when everybody was doing like zooming in, zooming out, like back in 60s and 70s, because people get excited about new tools, new technology, and all of a sudden, like there was also a moment when everything was just handheld and crazy, and people come, okay, that's enough. So it's constantly evolving, and that's the best thing about cinematography. I will never be in a position that I can say, okay, I think there is nothing more to learn. No, there is no way that will ever happen.
People say that you should turn off the sound and know what a movie is saying. How do you accomplish this? as a cinematographer?
Well, that's kind of what we discussed earlier, because to make a movie, not only movie, to communicate visually in a narrative format that we are mostly doing here, everybody has to do their job. Everything has to function, from the written script to the way it was lit, the way it was performed and edited, put together with the sound, with the music, with the effects. So all these elements work together. And with all these elements work together, which we have seen in some beautiful films when everything's perfect. Production design, the costume, the makeup, the sound, everything's great. So this is when you have a perfect or almost perfect film, TV show, episode, or just like visual piece. But cinematography itself is just part of the whole process. It's one component. And obviously, in order to understand cinematography, it's a visual medium. So you have to be able to communicate, before anything, visually. If the visual emotion if the emotion of the story is communicated not only in a written world, not only through the sound, through the production design, but if it's also captured with the given proper mood, then you definitely are doing a good job. And a part of what we did today was a kind of that thing, talking about, okay, what happens if you just change one light? If you go this way and put it this way, or if you turn off this light, how emotionally we responded to that? What happens if light is here versus here? How emotionally we respond to that? So these are kind of things which, as cinematographers, we have to understand. And today, the whole morning class was pretty much dedicated to understanding and cultivating your taste. And I think the taste is the key thing. And that's why schools are for. Schools are for cultivating taste. There are people who are geniuses playing music. Yeah, they're genius, natural geniuses. But there are also people who study very hard, work really hard, practice 8 hours a day, and they become really skilled professionals. And they know how they play. They know what they do, and why they do what they do. And same thing with the cinematography. Same thing with cooking. I like to use a lot of analogy with cooking, because I was explaining to my students, like we cannot start a dish. But what type of dish is what kind of genre equivalent is like what we're doing? What kind of movie we are making? Are we making comedy? We're making drama? We're making something very dramatic or something very abstract or stylized? Well, that also depends what kind of ingredients you're going to use. And balance of all these ingredients will tell you how your dish is going to come out. And because we are all different, we have different taste. No two dishes will be the same. Same thing with the film, with the cinematography. You take 5 cinematographers, bring them in the room. They will all do same story, same scene, but there will be always some nuances. And these nuances are what makes us so unique. Like having good wine and difference between Pinot and Cabernet, or some Cabernet Franc, or some Bordeaux, or, it's like there are all these nuances. They're all good wines, but somebody just might like a little bit more full body or fruitiness of wine, or maybe a little bit more, kick of the other one, and that's kind of how it is.
Like in Sideways.
Yeah, exactly.
Going back to the black and white photo that you took and that you still have today, were you ever bad at cinematography?
I think I was never good in cinematography. So I'm always improving, I'm always learning. So being bad or being good, that's a very relative term, Again, going back to what we're talking today, we are showing to students and demonstrating that putting light in the place which is really not emphasizing features of the character, of the talent, might be really looking bad. But if for the story that we are going for, and for what this character is supposed to look like, that might be perfect, so that might be right. So something might not look appealing, looking at some very dramatic lighting, but it might be perfect for the story. And I brought two examples. One was for a movie called Domino, where Keira Knightley is playing really tough woman being the bounty hunter. And she was photographed in the most harshest light you can think about. And exactly the reason for this, because photography, not being beautiful, but being very hard, very harsh, brought up the hardness and complexity of the character. Another example I took was, of course, Godfather. Godfather, when it came out, everybody was talking Gordon Willis will be fired, he will never work in Hollywood because that was bad. It was bad photography, it was bad, but, well, yes, he was the only one who dared to photograph somebody using the top light without seeing people's eyes, and, that was very daring. But when you think about it, that was a perfect choice. When you're photographing, mafia bosses and who are very, very shady and dark characters. So you're not going to make them look beautiful and glamorous and everything. There is certain style that comes from the story, comes from the character, and you as a cinematographer have to figure it out how to make it happen.